one thing I was thinking about too is like ways we can sort of practice vulnerability. Like, I think in a way, like after you and I had that conversation last week, just saying like, sometimes this feels really uncomfortable, not because of, X, Y, and Z, but because like the vulnerability piece actually felt so good to say.
Yeah.
And actually felt like important, because I think sometimes what can happen is when we don't ever acknowledge that thing, it just kind of like sits there and it's like, should you have said that?
Right. Yeah, just naming it is so helpful, just to like share, like, ugh, I have a really hard time like sharing sometimes, or every time I do this, like I go home and I think about like, oh, should I have said all those things, or should I have like withheld this part, or should I have said more, or like,
Yes.
you critique the whole thing and play it back. And so it's good sometimes just to say that out loud. And I think it's just like being brave and going first when it comes to like practicing vulnerability and doing it in like really small doses that feel safe for you and like the context in which you're in. And then at some point, it's taking those bigger risks that maybe you feel not less safe necessarily, but maybe just way more vulnerable. Um, and it's just that repetition over time of like, okay, I was able to share, that I had a really hard morning today or something, pretty small. And then you work your way up to like, oh yeah, things like aren't going great in like my relationship right now. Or like I am questioning like my whole purpose on this earth and like what I'm here to do and like how my path is aligning with that, or like whatever the bigger things are, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like getting those little wins on the board, which I know we've talked about in many other episodes, because you're building up that, a portfolio is not the right word, but that's the only word that's coming to mind right now. But it's like building the evidence of like, I'm able to do this.
Right.
And so I can do it again. And there might be times where you get burned.
Oh,
And that's
for sure.
very possible. That's part of vulnerability, is you could share something and someone, weaponizes it or attacks you, or maybe blames, or
Right.
creates a really shaming situation. Like there's all sorts of ways that it could be. It's risky. That's part of it, is it's risky. Most times it's going to be met with love and acceptance.
It wouldn't be, if it wasn't risky, it wouldn't be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality. If vulnerability didn't have risk in it, it wouldn't feel the way that it does. And like sometimes we go to the hardware store and we're looking for bread, and it's like, okay, maybe that wasn't the right person to talk to this issue about, or this thing about, and that's okay. We learn. And that also helps us build the muscle of like, okay, I can do this. And I can also sit with the discomfort of when it's not received how I don't want to say needed it to be, but like it's like needed it to be, you know what I mean?